The most intriguing name on the free agent market this summer is a former Milwaukee Buck. That's what it sounds like, according to one prominent ESPN NBA insider. And Doc Rivers speaks for the first time in public since the Bucks season comes to an end. We dig into those comments coming up next on Locked On Bucks.
You are Locked On Bucks, your daily Milwaukee Bucks podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Bucks. I'm Justin Garcia, joined as always by Camille Davis. We thank you for making this your first listen each and every day. And to all the everydayers out there as well, who, Camille, by the way, I ran into two of them today alone out in public at two separate grocery stores. Don't ask why I went to two in one day, but shouts to that crew. You can, of course, hear me on the Bucks Radio Network. You can find Camille on the Technical Foul podcast and on the Locked On NBA podcast, as well as one of our NBA analysts. We're going to get to the free agent tease in just a second, but we start here with Doc Rivers making an appearance on his pal, the Bill Simmons podcast. And, you know, this was, I believe, I hope I had it right, at least the first time we publicly heard from Doc Rivers since the Bucks season came to an end. I don't think anything he said was surprising, but is it fair to say what he did say and the tone in which he said it projected confidence in this Bucks offseason?
Projected confidence, and also I would say a level of, how do I say this? He didn't sound like a guy who feels as if this current NBA landscape is going to have the Bucks down for long. Like, he likes the group from what it sounds like, and also just some of his general wide-ranging NBA thoughts of like how teams are being built now going forward. I found it really interesting because I do think this is the first time we've heard from Doc this offseason outside of the time when like TMZ was following him around in California recently.
It's funny too. You and I were talking about this offline, and Doc was the one guy that you've heard respectfully push back on the notion that let's just gift wrap the Thunder the next 5 titles, and pointed out some of the things that you and I have talked about here of, well, number one, you got to win the first one, and you still got to win one game to get there. But everything changes once you get that championship. The Pat Riley disease of me, or disease of more, however he termed it. And as Doc mentioned, and you and I have talked about this too, yeah, it looks great now, but you got 2 guys you're going to have to pay. And then again, just other guys wanting more, that we fall into this trap every year. So shout out to Doc Rivers too, for not just going along with the groupthink and saying, we'll see, because this CBA isn't conducive, as we talked about yesterday, to those dynasties.
I mean, even in the last CBA, you think about the last time the Thunder made it to the finals. Like, I remember watching that team go against the Heatles, and it's like, okay, yeah, hey, KD, Westbrook, Harden, they'll be back. They'll be back on this stage. Like, they're young, they have time, and they never made it back to that stage. Like, so many different things have to go right. And when you look at this Thunder team, of course, I would imagine that most franchises would like to be set up as the Thunder are right now, because not only do you have young talent, you still have draft assets in the cupboard as well to be able to utilize in various ways. So, like, yes, the Thunder are in a great spot. But I get why Doc is like, well, we can't crown them yet. Like, there are so many things that happen during the course of an NBA season. So I definitely get that from that perspective. I don't begrudge it. But again, I think most franchises will want to be in the seat of the OKC Thunder right now.
So the Cliff Notes version of what he said reinforced Giannis in that, look, everybody outside the organization has been trying to trade Giannis to different teams for years. We're used to it. He has reiterated to all of us in the conversations that I've had with him, I want to win a championship here in Milwaukee, another one, that is. So more projection of that from Doc Rivers, more what we heard throughout the regular season as well. I really like this team, and we got a lot of adults. I think that was, kind of conspicuous by his absence. Bobby Portis, the only guy that he really only mentioned in passing, and that, well, Bobby's an adult, but he did say, hey, I just had lunch with Brooke Lopez the other day down there in Orlando. He's been in communication with other guys, really talked up the young guys and how much he likes them and mentioned them by name which reinforces the Bucks' desire to retain that group. We touched on the Giannis piece. And then the Dame aspect too, it was interesting because you could tell Doc was in the, I'm not going to get myself in trouble here. And I forget how he termed it, of like, I probably shouldn't comment on this, but yeah, I think he's going to come back this season and play before the end of the regular season.
Yeah, we hear the line often from Doc Rivers of, I'm only Doc by name. I'm not a real doctor. So we know this is all just his opinion based on how things are going. But he pointed to, I think it was Bill Simmons who mentioned, like, based on when Doc or Dame got injured, like, do you expect him to be back? And he was like, yeah, we think he will be back at some point in the regular season. And we've had the conversation on here, Justin, just about what's that timeline look like? Like, you hear 8 to 12 months generally for an Achilles injury. So yeah, like, it's feasible that he does come back at some point in the regular season towards the end of the year. But I think the best course forward for this Bucks team, like, yeah, I get in the pitch to Giannis from reports that we've seen is that, hey, we're going to rebuild around you, balls in your hand, and we expect Dame to come back at some point. We'll see what happens come playoff time. But I think the healthiest approach to the season for this team is just go at it like you don't have a Damian Lillard. What does this look like for your squad? And if he does come back before the season ends, you got a bonus. You got a bonus free agent addition, quote unquote, for the way the roster is constructed. But if not, you've already been playing this way. So continue forward with it.
We talked about it on yesterday's show too. So if you missed that conversation, go find that show. The silver lining I hesitate to use when we're talking about an injury as severe as a torn Achilles, but the silver lining there is what I don't even want to say discovered. I mean, we knew some of the things that Giannis was capable of. It had been a while since you really ran everything through him, but to really lean into that more and recognizing this is what works. And we gave the numbers on yesterday's show to back up. Wow, this is really what worked offensively for this group, and the ability to lean into that as well. To get Damian Lillard, very likely, I suppose, back at some point during the season, a good problem to have to figure out from that point forward. What do we need to adjust, and how do we start to fit this guy in here, especially if things are really clicking with the group that you have. And the big assumption, which again, Doc, he can't say too much in this setting, but I think the big takeaway for me was there was a lot of confidence projected from Doc Rivers. Now, you could push back and say, show me the time that wasn't the case with Doc Rivers, and I'll fully acknowledge that. And look, if we're going to nitpick some things too, another thing you and I talked about, he told Bill that as Dame was being helped off the floor, he told him, I think I just sprained my ankle. And Doc was, no, I think it's worse than that. I mean, I think it was pretty clear Dame knew what he did in the moment there.
Yeah, Dame knew something was bad. So whether and the thing with going on a podcast and saying something like that is that the other person can be like, yeah, I never said that, or I said that. So we'll see. We'll see. But I think from if Dame did feel like initially that he just sprained his ankle, I could see the expression that he had being the disappointment of, I just got back from a blood clot and now I'm hurt again. Whether he knew the severity in the moment is what it is. But that was an interesting little takeaway from Doc, as well as we of course heard Doc mention that he knew SGA was going to be good beforehand.
Yeah, Tyrese Maxey.
You always got to hear that one. But and also just him saying, like, as we mentioned, that the Giannis trade rumors, and he's just like, I don't know how much more Giannis has to say. Like, we know he wants to be in Milwaukee. So, like, I think it's cool about, a guy wanting to play with one franchise. So hearing Doc say that, in addition to his confidence level around the team, it's some good vibes at a time when I don't know what Bucks fans would have thought this would be a month ago, based on how rumors were really starting to swirl around this team. But things seem like they're starting to settle in for this group.
I'm not going to call him a liar. I'm just going to say I'm going to take a second opinion from Doctor on that one. Free agency, though, tiptoed around a big piece of what Doc Rivers had to say. And it's a bigger piece when you look at the names that the Bucks are looking to retain. One specifically has caught the attention of a prominent NBA insider. We'll dig into those details coming up next on Locked On Bucks. Time to talk to you about our friends over at Game Time. There's nothing like the NBA playoffs, the intensity, the buzzer beaters, the fans losing their minds. It's the kind of atmosphere you really need to experience live. And this year's matchups have been delivering all postseason long. If you want in, Game Time makes it fast and easy to get seats, even for the biggest playoff games. Prices on the app actually go down closer to tip-off, and with killer last-minute deals, panoramic seat views, and no surprise fees, Game Time is a total game changer. That panoramic seat view, especially if it's the summertime and you're out there to cross off some baseball stadiums, it's a game changer to see the view from your seat for any area you've never been to before. Their app makes it ridiculously simple to secure those tickets as well. It just takes 2 taps and you're done. And with a Game Time guarantee, you know you're getting the best deal. If you find a better price in the same row and section, they'll credit you 110% of the difference. Oh, by the way, NFL schedule release just dropped recently as well, and you better believe it's time to look at your fall calendar and start picking out which games to hit. You'll find great seats for as low as $100 thanks to exclusive discounts. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem that code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. So among the names that Doc talked about, Gary Trent Jr. is the guy that he mentioned the most. Which is no surprise. I think we've all said from day one. I think we asked Frank and he agreed, but you and I have certainly said that's the number one priority this offseason, given how the fit was, and especially down the stretch when you saw, he probably should have been starting this whole time, but now especially playing alongside Giannis, this works on both ends of the floor, and the age that he's just 26 years old. So remains to be seen what that market is going to be. We've all kind of projected probably $8 to $10 million ish, somewhere in that range. But he's pretty clearly the number one priority for the Bucks. We're in agreement there?
Yes.
Okay. So that brings us to an interesting name. And I think at the intro to the show, I said ESPN. He is not ESPN. He was formerly of ESPN and formerly of the Memphis Grizzlies. He's currently with the Athletic, and that is John Hollinger, who is going through free agent rankings here in position by position, who is out there, what he projects with the models that he's put together. Again, somebody that has had to go through these types of studies and analyses as a front office employee for the Memphis Grizzlies. And his most recent was on point guards.
Okay.
Where would you guess he had Kevin Porter Jr. checking in on that free agent market? You can go with number ranking or tier, as he put together quite a few tiers.
How many tiers in total is it? Because that could be a helpful starting place of where to try to assign.
Forcing me to scramble. So he had, I believe it was 5
different tiers.
6 tiers.
Okay.
6 tiers. Actually, no, I take that back. 7 tiers was his total tiers. So 7 tiers out there. And if you want the exact number in those 7 tiers, he took a look at 35 players at the point guard position.
35 players across 7 tiers. Okay. I'm looking at a list of just guys who are available this offseason based on what they were paid last season. So, of course, you have guys like Fred VanVleet on the list here who, has a team option. Kyrie Irving has a player option. You have a Malcolm Brogdon who I don't see him scratching 22.5 anytime soon again.
Yeah, he included everybody with player options too. So James Harden is on there.
Included too. Okay.
Yep.
So then you got like Dennis Schroeder, you got Chris Paul, Trey Jones, you got Gary Payton II. You got some names here. I would guess Kevin Porter Jr. is probably like a tier 3 player, I would assume.
Do you have a guess on the ranking? Out of
Maybe-
35 players?
Maybe like 10th, somewhere in there, like 10.
You are very close on both, in the ballpark. He has Kevin Porter Jr. in the second tier and as the 6th, which potentially opens up the possibility for, I know me and Frank, I forget where you came down on that one, but for us to be eating some crow if the projections that John Hollinger has ring true. So his tiers and the way he structured them, the first tier is basically your stars, and he worded it as the max and near max players in terms of contracts that they're going to be looking at. Tier number 2 is it starts, and there's just 3 guys in that first tier. It was James Harden, Kyrie Irving, and Fred VanVleet. In tier number 2, he has it more than the mid-level exception, but less than the max. And the 2 guys in front of Kevin Porter Jr. on his rankings in that tier are D'Angelo Russell, and the number he is attached to D'Angelo Russell is $23.8 million.
Ooh.
Then he has Trey Jones of the Bulls, and he has a $21.4 million tag on him. And that brings us to Kevin Porter Jr.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
So using the benefit of context there, where would you guess, or what would you guess is the price tag he has put on Kevin Porter Jr.?
He said 22 for Trey. Trey made $9.5 million last year. Okay. And D'Angelo Russell, what was the number for D'Angelo Russell?
23.8, just under 24 million.
He made 18 million. So he's okay. So he's going up on some figure that they made last year. If Kevin Porter Jr. is 6 right after Trey, then I would have. I don't even want to say number out loud. Is he talking like 13 million annually? 14? Higher? 15? 16? 7? 18?
Just under $19 million.
Oh, my goodness. The Bucks cannot afford that.
No. And, we mentioned yesterday and got roasted over it, the walkaway figure for Brook Lopez. If that's the market for Kevin Porter Jr., he's not going to be on the Bucks next season.
Yeah.
Number one, you don't have bird rights on it. So the only thing you could offer him is the non-taxpayer mid-level, which caps out at $14+ million. So if that's what he's going to garner, he's not going to be in a Bucks uniform. I think the walkaway number with Kevin Porter Jr. is below the non-taxpayer mid-level, but in his write-up and his analysis on this, as John Hollinger puts it, there are many, many issues with Porter that do not involve the basketball court, but the board model that he puts together only sees the basketball court and his age. He's 25 years old. He was highly productive and a bench catalyst for the Bucks at the end of last season. It is a tricky case, though, as the Bucks, as we just mentioned, have no bird rights. So if he opts out, which we expect to do, especially when you see this, all you can use to retain him is that mid-level exception, and that's $14.1 million. You got to retain Gary Trent Jr. as well. And just looking at him specifically, his mention is the Bucks are probably holding their breath, hoping they can bring him back at a price around $5.7 million for the taxpayer mid-level exception, to add him on that on a 1+1, where the second year is a player option. He can boost up his value even more, and then he's looking for even more money in the offseason. As he put it, maybe it's a plausible scenario, but here's the big thing. As he's mentioned, and I ran through, his model just looks at, here's the numbers that he put up in a Bucks uniform, because it wasn't great in a Clippers uniform. But we've all talked about this. It's not just basketball always. Now it just takes one team that says, we don't care, we see the talent. But as Hollinger puts it, there are stories about Porter from Cleveland and Houston that are going to scare some teams. It's just a matter of, will it scare enough teams to allow the Bucks to keep him at a price that they want?
Yeah, because the price that I was thinking for Kevin Porter,
price that we were all was like 5 to 6 million.
Yeah, like 6 max. I was like, yeah, maybe he doubles, that vet min number, and that's the number he goes with. Maybe it's a shorter deal for him because of that. He looks to try to use this upcoming season with an opportunity at a lot of playing time to increase that number even more next offseason. But where my brain goes to hearing that model put Kevin Porter Jr. at under 19 million, what in the world number are they going to put on Gary Trent Jr. when he gets to the shooting guards? Yeah. Because if the market goes crazy like that and the Bucks end up striking out on both Gary Trent Jr. and Kevin Porter Jr., like this upcoming offseason or season feels a lot different.
Yeah, and I'm very curious to see the 2-guard rankings when those come out. Now, Ryan Rollins was not, we mentioned there's 35 names in here. Ryan Rollins was not one of them. I don't know if he's viewing Ryan Rollins as a 2-guard, and we'll see him on that list, but that's the interesting thing to point out there. Even in the comments, you're seeing a handful of teams that are saying we don't have a point guard, a Blazers fan saying, look, I don't see any really elite aspects out there in terms of guys that are available. So why not roll the dice and take a chance on a guy like Kevin Porter Jr.? And I do think that's the biggest thing that the Bucks are going to be up against. If you have teams that are going big game hunting and miss out or feel like we just need one dynamic player to add to this mix that we already have, that's where it's going to be interesting. All it takes is one, as we keep hammering that home, all it takes is one guy or one team to make that offer and really change the market. But, I think the other big thing, maybe the only big thing in the Bucks' favor here is the role that you figure to be available for Kevin Porter Jr. for at least 2/3, 3/4 of the season.
Yeah, and again, if that's the pathway that he takes, if he does look at this as an opportunity for playing time in Milwaukee, which he will have a lot of with the Damian Lillard injury, maybe he does take another shorter deal and says, you know what, I will take another shorter deal here. I maybe could have gotten more on the market elsewhere, but if I know what I can do, and if I get the playing time to show it, I know next offseason I can cash in. So maybe it becomes a situation based on how the market dictates things where Kevin Porter Jr. is also another like short-term rental, quote unquote, for the Bucks, which if the market plays out that way might be the best for both parties involved.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting when we see those 2-guard rankings and what those look like, because there's a chance this is going to be a rough offseason for the Bucks in that regard. On the opposite end of the rough spectrum is the overall experience at Fiserv Forum. We've seen another list come out that ranks it very highly. We'll dig into the details of that coming up next.
Olipop is a new kind of soda. It is made for people who love the classic taste of soda, but they want to make sure they got something that supports their health. With just 2 to 5 grams of sugar plus 9 grams of prebiotic fiber in every single can, Olipop is reimagining soda in a way that's better for your gut. Traditional sodas are loaded with sugar, like 39 grams of sugar in a regular Coke or 44 grams in an orange Fanta. Olipop flips that script with just a fraction of the sugar, no artificial sweeteners, and gut-friendly ingredients like OliSmart, a blend that has been shown to support digestive and overall health. It's a soda that tastes like the real thing, but actually does something good for your body. And that's the part for me. Like, I'm going ahead and crack this open because it is hot in Milwaukee. This can has been sitting here sweating beautifully. I want y'all to hear that sound of a can being freshly opened, if I know how to open the soda, because it ain't happening right now. But as I try to open up this grape can, I tell you, grape is my favorite flavor so far that I have tried from Olipop, because that sound, like, to have that sound and know it's actually good for you, no sugar in it, you can't beat that. You can't beat that. And as you continue getting older, like I'm closer to 40 now, y'all, than I am to my 30s and stuff like this. A godsend. So get a free can of Olipop. Just buy any 2 cans in the store and they will actually reimburse you for one. Head to drinkolipop.com/lockedonnba to claim your free can and find Olipop near you. That's drinkolipop.com/lockedonnba.
All right, Camille, we had another list come out, and I believe this was BetMGM that put this one together, ranking the best NBA arenas now that the season has concluded. What would you guess number one on the list is?
Oh, it's got to be the Clippers' new arena. I would assume.
It was not. Now,
Really?
it came in at number 5. Now, here's the thing, too, before we dig too much into this. There's not a whole lot of explanation in what goes into the rankings here. They kind of allude to what the overall environment is, cost, and just experience in general, but no detailed breakdown of we looked at and bucketed the arenas in 4 different categories and looked at this and this and awarded points for this. So this is kind of the wing it method here, but no, the Intuit Dome was ranked number 5 according to this list.
Fiserv Forum leaning on history here. Like, is Madison Square Garden number 1?
Madison Square Garden's number 1.
Okay.
So you had number 1, Madison Square Garden. Number 2 was Crypto. I don't know about that one. Chase Center is number 3. Barclays Center number 4. We mentioned the Clippers, and the Intuit Dome is number 5. And number 6 is Fiserv Forum. Now, ESPN also did a ranking of this just before the season started last year, so October of 2024, and Fiserv Forum checked in at number 8 in that list. Now, they went to a vote and gave some more rationale. Menu prices, even though it's something that most Bucks fans have issue with. I was just talking to 2 of them today that brought this up. I think, sure, relative to the Bradley Center and other options, certainly if you're going to Panther Arena,
yeah,
the concession prices are a little steeper, but in comparison to the rest of the league, you actually got it pretty good. They're in the middle of the pack. They ranked 15th in food concessions and just talked about the overall style of food that's available. It's in the heart of downtown, which earned points as well, the accessibility to the arena, and just the overall experience. Some of the things like the T-shirt cannons and the Bratzukas.
I think you got to be the Bratzuka in there
as well. And, you've seen it on Reddit too, when fans chime in and lurk in the Bucks subreddit and say, hey, coming into Milwaukee for a game, and then leave comments afterwards about things like that. I've talked at times about, it's hard to believe the arena is already going on before you know it, 10 years old. And it may not be the most flashy of all the new buildings out there, but it's a pretty nice experience, and especially when you're comparing it to what it replaced.
Yeah, the Bradley Center. Now, I had great times at the Bradley Center.
I grew up there.
Right, great times on the Bradley Center there. But I know one thing that I was really happy about with Fiserv Forum when I first saw it was the upper level. Because in the Bradley Center, it felt like you could fall to your death at any time going up those steps because they were so steep. They felt so small. I like that in Fiserv. When you walk out, you're already at the top of that section. You walk down to your seat. Not as steep either. And I mean, overall, like, the arena itself looks nice. It's a nice looking arena. I love when you enter into the forum with the glass and everything there, how you can see it, the balcony area, the panorama club, if they still call that up top in the arena as well. It is a very nice place to watch basketball, and really not too many bad seats in the place. Like, you can sit upper level, have a really clear view. Everything looks good. So, like, I could see that, and the pricing being middle of the pack makes some sense. I would love to see the Bucks move, close to the top of affordability for their food and whatnot. But like, I was just recently in Illinois, and that's why a lot of Bulls fans come up here for games too, because they're like, it is much cheaper to do that in Milwaukee than going to Chicago and paying to see the team down there.
The only write-up in this this ranking by BetMGM is one line, and it's about the Bratzuka, that fans can get bratwurst from a cannon instead of just T-shirts coming from a cannon. So it's quickly becoming what the Bucks are known for. And yeah, to see, multiple lists, granted, this one doesn't have, not really showing your work on this one, but to see routinely Fiserv Forum popping up in the top 10. Now, I don't know offhand, I'd have to think about it, where it ranks in terms of newest arenas that are out there. We're seeing more and more new ones that are built, but arenas that are older than it, that ranked higher than Fiserv Forum in the ESPN write-up, they had, well, let's not spoil it. Who do you think ESPN had in the fall as the number one arena experience in basketball?
They also did not have Madison Square Garden based on the way Stephen A. Smith be acting. It's not Madison Square Garden.
Well, he didn't put together the list, but they did not have Madison Square Garden.
Chase Center?
It was not Chase Center, but you're in the right state.
I know it's not crypto. And I don't think they'd put into it there. The Kings? Like the Bean?
It was the Golden One Center, listed as the number one arena experience in basketball. Again, that done back in October heading into the season. So that was open in 2016, Madison Square Garden. When you're going with that, it's just the overall iconography of it and, the history that lives in that building. But that building, built 1968. Chase Center was built 1 year after Fiserv Forum. That was 2019. You got TD Garden, that is quickly becoming one of the oldest arenas out there, at 1995. Scotiabank, 1999, home of the Toronto Raptors. Little Caesars Arena, just a year older than Fiserv Forum, is 2017. That's the overall experience in the downtown setting there in Brooklyn. Detroit. Speaking of Brooklyn, Barclays Center, 2012, that was built, and then Fiserv Forum at number 8 on ESPN's list. So you're seeing more and more crypto, Gainbridge, those are from the 90s, United Center from the 90s, Target Center, 1990, in dire need of a new home of the Timberwolves. You got America Airlines, home of the Mavericks, 2001. Kaseya Center, where the Heat play, 1999. The Delta Center once again, throwback to the 90s, 1991. State Farm Arena, doesn't feel that old, 1999. Footprint Center by the Suns, 1992. You got the Blazers at the Moda Center in 95. So the point of all of this is, man, we're starting to see a lot of like 95 to 99-ish arenas that were built in that range.
Yeah, when I first went to was it Footprint Center for the Suns?
Yep.
Yeah, I was kind of shocked that was an NBA arena as well. I was like, oh, this looks a little different in here. But yeah, what this tells me though, at the end of the day, we need more Brodzuka. If Brodzuka is what is helping to push the Bucks up the rank, it should not be a one-time a game occurrence. We should get the Brodzuka at least once a quarter. That is what I am taking away from these rankings, because if you get more Brodzuka, who knows, Bucks Fiserv Forum could be top 5 going forward.
So we got 15, 16, 17, 18, doing the math quick here, Camille, 19, 20. I mean, at least 2/3 of the league is, I believe we got 23 of the active arenas out there now are 20 years old or older. So we've all of a sudden entered this era where, yeah, it's probably time for some new arenas that you're going to start to see more and more of those pop up in the next few years. But yes, not a whole lot in terms of their insights and how they arrived here, but we're seeing more and more of these lists of Fiserv Forum rated among the best in terms of the overall experience. And look, a lot of that has to do with the Bucks have been very successful since moving into that building. It's been the opposite of the Bradley Center when we talk about our memories of growing up in that building and the brand of basketball that's established with it. It's been a different story with Fiserv Forum so far. That'll do it for today's show. So we asked you to leave your walk-away figure for Brooke Lopez. I told you it can't be $1. We didn't really get any figures, but we just got a lot of comments from people saying to just walk away, period. But continue to do that on yesterday's show. Do the same for Kevin Porter Jr. The number that we shared today, was it as surprising for you as it certainly was for us? Leave the figure that you would walk away from for KPJ, and we'll continue to address those comments in the coming days. For Camille, I'm Justin. We'll talk with you guys once again tomorrow on Locked On Bucks.